If I mentioned Crystal Lake, would you know what happened? Would Friday the 13th catch your attention? In this episode of Mind Game, we shine some light on the behind-the-scenes journey of graphic designer, writer, actor, director, and special effects artist Jason Brooks. Jason's remarkable journey has taken him from the corporate world, including time working at Amazon when they just sold books, to Microsoft, to becoming a creative force in the independent film industry. Join us as we learn how Jason's interest in horror films and fascination with special effects led him to take on roles, including playing Jason in the fan-favorite, crowd-funded indie film Friday the 13th: Vengeance, which created an opportunity for him to write, act in, direct, and lead the award-winning special effects team in Friday the 13th: Vengeance 2: Bloodlines. If you're curious about how the nevers push us towards our purpose and how adopting a mindset of if someone else can do it, why can't I, opened the doors to a world of independent filmmaking and the ultimate level up. What's the habit that helped him to level up and create the Real Fiction Studio Effects team? You'll have to listen to part 1 to find out more about it. Did you know Jason and his team are working on a brand new project? It's a story you know, but it was never a children's story. I'd say buckle up and get ready for this episode, but maybe you should lock the doors as we go behind the scenes and learn how Jason Brooks brought his dream of Real Fiction Studios to life. Let's join the conversation. Welcome to Mind Game, a podcast to level up your life. My name is Stephanie Painshaw, and I'm excited for you to join me on a journey behind the scenes where we'll dig into the stories of resilience, mindset, and unlock the simple habits that will help you change the game. Before we dive in, I want to express our gratitude for your continued support. Your energy powers our quest to provide content that encourages you to unlock new levels of personal growth and step out of your own comfort zone. If you're inspired by an idea or have a suggestion for a future topic, connect with us at mindgamelevelupyourlife.com. Your feedback is a power-up that helps us continue on this epic adventure. So if you're ready to get out of your own way and explore what you didn't know you needed to know, you've come to the right place. So buckle up, open up your mind. It's time to level up. I am so excited to welcome to Mind Game Level Up Your Life today, Jason Brooks, actor, technological background in video editing, production, e-commerce. We've met through some network marketing businesses in the past. Jason has an absolutely amazing skill set. He's great with people, always offering to help everyone out, has a vast and deep understanding of how things work behind the scenes. You don't often always see him in front of the camera, but that is actually, in fact, his other role as an actor. He has his own production studio and special effects studio. He has his own makeup line, or is a partner in the makeup line. And so I'm so excited to have you here today, Jason. Welcome to Mind Game.
Wow, thank you. That was an amazing introduction.
Well, and I'm not sure if I captured all of the different pieces. I was trying to think of, I know you did a lot of the video production work for us. I know that you have not dabbled in e-commerce. You looked after all our websites and the behind the scenes pieces for that. I know you've done a lot of audio for us as well. And that, I think, what did they always said you had the voice of God when you had you were announcing at the conferences and different things like that. And we were fortunate to meet when I was on the success trip in, I think it was Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. And it was much warmer there than it was here today. We're, headed into the minus 30 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. And you said it's much nicer where you are.
It's 35 now.
Yes, that sounds much nicer than where it is here. So one of the first questions I have for you on Mind Game is, I know acting is a huge part of your life, and you were multitasking and doing 2 roles. I'm not sure if you ever really slept while you were working your other job, because you were often filming in the evenings or doing some of the special effects and the production studios. And Jason and Naomi, together you started the production studio. So and that was Real Fiction Studios, correct?
Correct. Real Fiction Studios.
So it's exciting jump into entrepreneurship, but tell us a little bit about how you got into acting in the first place.
Yeah, I started a long time ago, probably 20 years ago. just doing graphic design and things like that. I always been into costumes and props. I loved movies and just kind of did it for myself and making little things for my home. And then I kind of stumbled into a guy who was an independent filmmaker one day, and he was asking me to make some movie posters. So I started making movie posters, and he invited me to set. I started seeing some of the things they did on set and
Nice.
noticed that they were, skeleton crew. And so I offered my help on that and just kind of got the ball rolling. And pretty soon he was asking me to help co-direct, make costumes. And because I'm a very large person, I'm 6'5", about 245 pounds. I got asked to be the monster in several of these like little independent horror movies. And I just really enjoyed it. And as the time went on, it just grew and grew until I got the Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees role on Vengeance 2 and Roseblood. And from there, everything just kind of took off. And a couple of years ago, I met my partner about 2.5 years ago. I met my partner on the second or third Friday the 13th I worked on. They were the makeup artists and special effects artists for the film. And so we worked very closely throughout the whole duration of that. And we kept working on projects after the film was over. And I just kind of said, hey, do you want to just go all in on this with me and make the production company and really just invest ourselves into it? And Naomi said, yeah, absolutely. And we've been doing it ever since.
That's exciting. That's a big jump from kind of the regular everyday job and then into being an entrepreneur. I had a friend on a previous episode, and she was talking about that space in between when you let go of the known and then you cross over to the unknown, and you kind of get stuck in that in between space, and it can be a little bit scary, figuratively or literally, if you're into independent horror. So that's a huge jump. So was there sort of a moment when you knew that was what you wanted to do? You wanted to have your own production company, be in charge of all of the different pieces that come with that?
Yeah, I kind of had it in my mind that, I liked the 9 to 5 job. I liked the job security. I worked for, Amazon for over a decade. Microsoft and the cosmetics company, but, several different places. So I really, I loved having the 9 to 5. I loved that. But I also loved this passion project on the side. And so that's why it was really good for me to have Naomi here and our friend Michelle. We were able to take that Real Fiction Studios and really go forward with it. So having the 9 to 5, I'd be able to pay the bills and finance things that we needed. And while Naomi and Michelle would go during the day and work on films. And then on weekends and nights, like you're saying, I could go out and help. I could do nights and weekends working on things, preparing for the pre-production of the films. And the idea was that one day I could retire, and then they would have done the legwork out there while I'm supporting financially or supporting through other ways on the film until that moment. And then I could just kind of transition and retire into what I love on the movie side. So, but then, life happens, and sometimes decisions are made for you. And I end up where I am now. I've been doing it full time since June, and we love it. It's difficult. Like you said, very scary. You try to, have that security there, but not having it is very difficult, but it forces you to think differently and to really put extra emphasis behind it and make sure it works no matter what. So.
And it's often how entrepreneurs end up where they are. And I can certainly relate to when you have the 9 to 5, it adds that comfort, it adds that security. And then you're kind of in that in between where you've got a plan. I like that you said retire into what you love to do. I think that's a fantastic way to think about where does life go in the future, and to find what you're passionate about and what you really enjoy doing. I think that's the ultimate goal for all of us. If we could retire early into what we love. Sometimes, like you said, life changes things. I was listening to probably a TikTok or a podcast, and they said, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. And so in Mind Game, we try to think about the mindset that we have. So the mindset of an entrepreneur, that you flip that life change into an advantage. You use that to go all in and follow your dreams in that. Is there a habit or a strategy that you use to kind of navigate through that in-between space from the kind of the safe one side through the rougher rivers, sometimes to the other side?
Yes, it's odd because before the last job and the layoffs and everything happened, I really had it in my mind, like, I'd like to build this up big enough so that if anything ever did happen, if anything were to go sideways in life at all, I have multiple things happening and have that safety net, because I've always wanted to be prepared.
Yes.
And the moment I start thinking about that is when kind of things went awry. And the lead up to that moment, there were so many things happening. I have another friend who's in the industry who did the same thing, a couple of them, and they did it right before. And I really admired it. Like they literally quit their job to do filmmaking full time, and without having that lined up. So it really is a different mindset, because you have to make that work. And when you have the full-time job, you have most of your brain and your energy dedicated to 9 to 5. And then whatever's left over at the end of the day goes into this other one. So you're not going to fully be 100% able to make that happen. And when this all came to be, I kind of had to sit there and think, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is it just that I've been dragging my feet on this part of it too long, and now I really need that kick in the pants to make it happen and delve into it 100%. And so that's what I did. I kind of looked at it as the universe's way of saying, now's the time. Don't wait till retirement. Do it now. And why not do what you love longer? And why wait till retirement? So I think it's the knowing that kind of the universe is there pushing me along, and the support of Naomi, Michelle, and different people with this, the support of the film community. It's really going to help to get that in between space. And people who, when you go out there and we're doing a great job and they're recommending you, that is really that positive energy. Yeah. That really holds you together and keeps your chin up so that you can kind of keep pushing forward and know you're making good progress.
And it's exciting when you're around that energy. It's contagious, right? Positive energy will spread, and it connects you to more people who connect you to more people. And in the end, it's really about all of those different connections to the people that you've met and how you've connected with them in the past. I like that you said why do we wait till retirement to do what we love? I think life is short enough. One of the things that Katie said during the last podcast is she said, why do we wait so long in life to realize that there's really not that much time left? It was we got kind of serious in that episode, but she said that it's kind of freeing in knowing that life doesn't go on forever. So why are we spending it doing the things that we're not enjoying? And what do we need to let go of to be able to move forward and do that? So that's takes courage to leave that known and that security of the 9 to 5, because I live in that world in education. So it's being brave, letting go, knowing where you're going, being surrounded by people who will help you to navigate that path. So that's, like I said, very excited for you. And let's go back into the acting piece. You said you sort of just found yourself in there, and your director as well. And was it just that horror films just kind of happened, or is that a genre that you always really enjoyed? I'm always curious how people end up in different fields.
Yeah, I was always very curious about horror. Growing up, I wouldn't say I was a big horror fan. I was curious about it. I enjoyed it. I was, as a child or, young adult, scared by horror movies and had that little bit of a fear there.
Yeah.
And so I was always intrigued, but more so I was intrigued by how the special effects were done and how they could make it look real. And so I'd be finding those little Fangorium magazines and everything where they showcase some of these effects. And I was always fascinated by that and more interested in that than the actual movie itself. But I loved science fiction, comedies, adventure movies. Those are always my favorite at the time. But now I found working in horror, find myself gravitating towards those a lot more. I don't even, maybe psychological references, like I'm doing some job research or seeing what else is out there, what the new techniques are. But I found that I have kind of grown my net. It's cast wider now on kind of movies I like, and probably just because of the working on it.
And I find it interesting that the special effects is what drew you in. So how did they make that happen? And how do you get it to look so real? And I think that's always that behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see. We watch the movie and, it scares us. My daughter absolutely loves horror films. She enjoys watching them with her friends to see how scared they get. I couldn't watch them. It would make me wake up with nightmares. Yeah, my imagination is very good all on its own, but she absolutely loves them. She loved when you had recorded that video for her when we were in Cabo, and you sent her a little message about your mom probably says don't watch them, but you should watch them. But it's all of those pieces behind the scenes, I think, that we just don't know. So for a horror film, I would imagine there are quite a few effects that go into place. And you talked about different techniques. So do you learn those techniques through, is it YouTube or you meet different people? Is there classes that you took? I'm curious about how you learned more in that field.
Sure. Naomi went to school for this. So they went to makeup and special effects school. And me, I just kind of made things up as I went. I didn't have a lot of the resources or the ability to go to school at the time. And I was working at Amazon for many years when I kind of got into this.
Right.
And like I said, doing it on the side, just, oh, you guys didn't have this. Let me figure out if I could do that. And a lot of it before there was a big YouTube with a lot of tutorials and everything. Since
Yeah, we're
then,
the pre-YouTube generation where
exactly.
we
People are
learned things from the old-fashioned way. We actually talked to people and did
exactly.
research and
You got
everything.
to find those people who know.
Yes.
And I, so I started doing that on my own and stumbled into what I could do. Or you meet other effects artists or people who've tried other things and you just kind of pick up as you go. And my mind just kind of, every time I go to the hardware store or anywhere, I'm looking at things like, how can this be used in the future? What's that? Or that's interesting. And then I can kind of catalog that in my brain, use it later for something. But I've been going to the Stan Winston School of Character Arts online. We do a lot of classes and courses there to kind of learn what the industry standards are, the techniques. There's a lot of technical things that are very valuable to know, which you can then build on. So we have been doing a lot more education over the last couple of years on that. And just kind of playing catch up on all the things that we don't know yet, so that when they do come our way, we can say, yes, we do know how to do that. And we can pull it off and do it well.
And I like what you said about you learned as you went. So you didn't let it stop you. If it was of interest or somebody asked you how to do that, you figured out a way to learn how to do that. So I think there's resilience in that. There's determination and persistence to keep going in the field that you're interested in. And I think that the key is if you love what you do, then it doesn't seem like more work to learn about that. Or at least that's what I find as I'm venturing into podcasting and different things. If you really enjoy it, then it's interesting to learn how those different pieces work. So, and going to school as a teacher in me is always like, it's always education comes in many different forms. And I think we're transitioning into a time where it's not just you go to a formal school to get education. You can look something up online. You can ask AI to help you learn how to do something, but there's still a lot of value in connecting with other people who have done that, before you. So did you have any mentors in particular that really helped you kind of navigate that transition from acting into production and special effects?
No, I think I would be my own mentor in that, it was really, I just kind of did it myself. And I thought my biggest motto is, if someone else can do it, how come I can't? Like, if they know how to do it, they can make this happen. Why can't I do it? And whether it's fixing something on the house or making a special effect, whatever it is, it's just, there's some knowledge, there's some education or experience that they have that I don't yet, that I can just grab onto. And then I will be able to be on that same path. I mean, it might take longer for some things and to be able to get there. But and then I'd say that Naomi, coming out of the college and learning all these things and new into the film industry, we have been inspiring each other as well. There's a lot of things that Naomi knows that I don't, and things that I know that Naomi doesn't. So we are constantly learning from each other. And that's also exciting. And when, like you're saying, when it is a passion, it doesn't feel like work or learning. It's just part of the process of living out your dreams. This is what happens.
Which is exciting that you're able to transition into that and do that full time, and being surrounded by people that lift up that energy and return that energy. And I know I think at least, or maybe it's just because I'm a teacher, I always love that when you learn something new and you're like, your brain picks it up and you're like, I can do that. And you figured it out. And then you can learn that from somebody, something different from somebody else. I think that's what I love about teaching and education, is that learning back and forth between people. I also like that you said, I haven't learned that yet. So growth mindset is important, whether you're in education or just in life in general, or learning new and different areas and things that probably wouldn't have existed when we were both growing up. So, it was acting and special effects something like you always dreamed of because that's what you were most interested in movies, or were you headed in a different career path and this just happened to to come up?
Yeah, I was always, from the moment I can remember, I loved movies, and Star Wars was my
Yeah.
thing as a kid. And I really wanted to be one of those stormtroopers or be Darth Vader or something where I could walk around in the cool costumes. And
Yeah.
so I kind of got into costumes first because that's what I really enjoyed about some of the movies. And then I was
Yeah.
like, wait, how did they make the spaceship? How did they make it look like they're flying? So I started thinking about all that and
Mhm.
making my own movies in my head or in my bedroom. So that was kind of one of those, that's where I started. But,
Mhm.
when you're growing up in a small town in Washington, that's not where people expect you to go. So you don't have a lot of support to go in that direction.
Yes.
And it's more like, hey, you could be a truck driver. You could be, any number of things, was what my dad was. And this is what we know. And so I kind of grew up not having a direction or an avenue to Hollywood or to film.
Right.
So I was very fortunate to one day meet the friend who was an indie filmmaker, which kind of started getting me networking. Um, but it's, I just kind of got jobs, as anyone would.
Yeah.
And, one day went to an employment agency after a company I'd worked for shut down, way back when.
Yeah.
And I needed to get a job. So I walked over there. They got me into a brand new company just started a couple of months earlier called Amazon.com. And I was employee number 211. I got
Wow, not
started.
many people can say that about Amazon to have. I don't think
No,
I don't think I knew that you worked for Amazon earlier on. It's
yeah, very early on. It was, employee number 211. And when I had left, there's only 11 people there who had been there longer.
wow.
So it was quite early, but it, it was one of those things where
Yeah.
I say that this is my passion, the acting and everything is my
Right.
love and passion, what I love to do, but I did love working at Amazon and all the other places
Yes.
I've been, uh, getting into e-commerce and everything. So I kind of fell into that. I started off at an entry level job and within a couple of weeks worked my way up and became a lead and then the manager. And then I got pulled from there to another department to go help start that department. And we
Nice.
got pulled from there to go start, books, music and video, because we only sold books at first. And then it just
Right.
kept
Yeah.
snowballed and it just grew and grew and worked my way up. And every time I got into a new team, I was able to learn what was happening and just being capable, absorb what someone else is doing. And, it's like,
Yes.
if someone else can do it, why can't I? And I did. And then from that point,
Yeah.
headhunted over to Microsoft and it just kind of went from there. And
It's an
it,
exciting tour.
it
Amazon,
was,
Microsoft.
yeah, it was very, very exciting. I loved it a lot. And I've been very fortunate to have people that are very supportive of the film work I do, so that when I am there, if I do need to take some time off to go film overnight, take a day off here to go on vacation, that they've let me take the sick days or the vacation days
Yes.
and use that. So
And I know you did work a lot of different hours to film, or you would film, or you would travel to a convention because of the different characters that you've played. And you mentioned being a stormtrooper or Darth Vader. You did in fact play Darth Vader in something, correct?
I did. I did some work for Lucasfilm for a few years.
Mhm.
And I had a group called the 501st Legion, it's a worldwide organization that does charity events and work. And so I got to do a lot of performances with bands, be on television, commercials, magazines,
No.
and as Darth Vader, we go to children's hospitals and that sort of. And it was a great time. I was one of the grandfathers of that organization as well.
You're just in the right place at the right time. So I think that's a fantastic sign for your studio. Things are just meant to be where you just help create that energy that flows out from there. So when you're playing Darth Vader or you're playing other characters, I see in the background you have different props behind you there. What's it like when you play the character that no one can really like? Do you get recognized when you go out, or you're kind of playing those characters that are behind a mask? So what's that like as opposed to playing a character where we would actually see you? Because it would hard to to see facial expressions that way. But I know a lot
Yeah.
comes through in voice. But what's that like?
So I have been recognized more often than I expect, playing Jason
Right.
Voorhees at Friday the 13th. The fans are amazing. They do their research. Everybody has their own favorite version of Jason from all
Yeah.
the different movies, the way that they move and walk or do their motions. And so I've been fortunate enough to be in that ranking with people, and they research, they look it up, they see who played him. And I've done a lot of podcasts, I've done a lot of interviews and everything. So my face has been out there. And so for the fans who are, hardcore fans, they recognize me. I've been recognized on Valentine's Day in the mall with my kids. Someone stopped me and my kids were like, "What was that?"
Yeah.
On a plane going to Cancun for the incentive trip. There was a gentleman who sat next to me on the plane on the way there, and he saw I was wearing a shirt, and he said, "Oh, that was a great movie. Did you see it?" And I was like, I did. And we had our masks on, it was COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do you know who played Jason?" He was like, "Oh yeah, I think it was a guy, his name was Jason also." And I was like, "Yeah." And I took my mask down. That was me. And then he freaked out. He talked to me the whole way there, much to his wife's dismay, because it was their anniversary. So eventually she was tugging on his shirt like, "Hey, come on, bring it back."
Yeah.
So, and then, just random places in Kansas and the East Coast, I've been recognized. And it's a lot of fun to meet people like that.
Well, and you're very good with people. I know you had lots of people that we would meet on the incentive trips, and you dealt with lots of people. And I think in probably all of the different jobs that you've had, do you have a favorite character that you've played?
I like them all.
Yeah.
They're all
That's a good
different.
answer.
It's like being a child, it's like,
Yes,
you love
yes.
them all
I've
for
asked you to
different.
pick favorites. Uh, so I know at one point you were directing your own version of Vengeance. Was that Bloodlines
Yep.
2?
There's two
Sometimes
bloodlines.
sometimes my memory works well for the exact name. So in that one, did you write that one as well?
I did. So after the first Vengeance, the director, everybody wanted a sequel to that. It was, picked up love. That's what got me going to the conventions and signing
Right.
autographs. And people wanted that, but the director was like, I'm done. That was a lot. I can't do it anymore. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to do it myself either. But the people kept coming back, and the director said, "You're the only one who knows the story well enough, who knows filmmaking well enough that I trust to hand this off to." And so eventually people talked me into it. And so I wrote,
Yeah.
directed, and starred in that one too. And had, thank goodness for my crew, because I had a lot of help to stand in for me as a director, or to help as I'm in costume with different things to make that work. So definitely was not a one man show.
Well, it's always the work of all the team, and there's a lot of behind the scenes. I think when you watch the credits of the movie, you start to realize just how many different people are connected. And part of what we see the magic on the screen, but we don't always see all of the magic that happens behind the scenes to get to that point. So I appreciate that all of the different talents that you have, from writing to acting, directing to production and special effects. When you think about filmmaking and your journey through that, what would you say one of the best lessons that you've learned?
Ooh, one of the best lessons I've learned along the way is to really step back, take time, and appreciate everybody. That was something that I learned on this last set, where I could kind of see, and I was grateful for it, because people stepped up in the last minute. People came in out of nowhere, donated time. They came in there. And when I kind of look back and knowing what I did for it, and having worked on it for a year and a half before we even started filming, there was so much. But then, so you kind of get in that moment, and what do I have to do? What do I have to do? But then when I see this person just, they're missing their wedding anniversary right now to come be here on this set. This person is missing their children they haven't seen in a couple of days or something, and they have been driving around picking people up for me. There's so much to do. And these people are believing in my project, believing in what I'm putting out there. It's very humbling to see people kind of working for your vision and helping to bring it to light. So it's, I just found myself constantly seeing different people and just like, wow, taking a moment to myself and just really appreciating what they've done and what they are doing. And some to this day continue to do.
Moments of gratitude, those, I like how you said, pausing to appreciate what's happening in that moment when it's very, very busy, and just what everybody is sharing to make that common vision come to life. And it certainly does in the movies come to life. And so if they wanted to watch Bloodlines, Vengeance 2, or any of the films that you produced, where's the best place for viewers to go?
Oh, you could go watch it for free on YouTube.
Okay.
Real Fiction Studios is the channel,
Okay.
and you can find it on there.
Nice. Just wanted to make sure we send people to the right place so that they
Yeah.
can see who you are. I know my daughter was like, "What was his name? I need to look up and see what films he's done and where he's been." So I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And that's part 1 of our conversation with Jason Brooks. I always find it interesting to go behind the scenes and learn what draws people into various roles and the difference a growth mindset makes when you see challenges as opportunities and make it a point to ask yourself, if someone else can do it, why can't I? And that's how an opportunity to meet an indie filmmaker, coupled with a curiosity for the special effects of horror films, can take you from behind the scenes of Amazon and Microsoft to a creative force in the independent film industry. Whether Jason's writing, acting, directing, or creating the next amazing special effects, he reminds us that it's always a good time to take a moment and appreciate the team around you. The magic of bringing a story to life is in the people you surround yourself with and their commitment to bringing your vision to life. Whether he's bringing the epic character of Jason Voorhees to life in front of the camera, or writing the death of Snow White, which, by the way, is coming in March of 2025, what strikes me is Jason's resilience and commitment to find the next opportunity, which in the end is truly the ultimate level up. The challenge is not just to ask yourself if they can do it, why can't I? But to put it into action and level up your life. Tune into the next episode to learn what's in a name and how Jason partnered with Naomi and Michelle to bring Real Fiction Studios to life. Are you curious about the behind the scenes of the death of Snow White, their upcoming film? Drop a comment down below and let us know if you'd like Jason to come back for future interviews along with his special effects team so that you can learn more about the death of Snow White and what goes into the making of an independent film. P.S. You can check out realfictionstudios.com to learn more about their brand new project, The Death of Snow White. A terrifying dark fantasy film which promises horror fans a new and original take on the classic fairy tale. Huge shout out to Jason for writing and directing, along with the Real Fiction Effects team for their special effects work on this future film. Check out thedeathofsnowwhite.com for more details and exclusive updates. I've included the link to the Real Fiction Studios YouTube channel in the show notes, in case you're curious and want to check out Friday the 13th, Vengeance 2, Bloodlines. Thanks for listening. Here's your Episode 9, Mind Game, Level Up Your Life, Challenge. Share this episode and send one message to someone you are grateful to have in your life. # Level Up Your Life. Thank you for choosing to listen to Mind Game, a podcast to level up your life. We hope that you've enjoyed the insights, inspiration, and habits shared in this episode. Your support is a game changer, and we are incredibly grateful to be on this journey with such an amazing community of listeners. If you have any wonders, questions, or suggestions about this or future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media and share your feedback. Remember, you can catch all of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring valuable content to you, our listeners. Don't want to miss the next episode? Join our Facebook group and email list and get ahead of the game. Until next time, remember to mind the game so that you can get out of your own way and level up your life.